Hello everyone, welcome to this lecture. The plan for this lecture is as follows. In this lecture we will introduce hybrid public key encryption scheme and we will introduce ChemDem paradigm and we will see an instantiation of CDH based Chem in the random oracle model and a DDH based instantiation of Chem in the standard model. So, let us start with the motivation of hybrid public key ciphers, and before doing that let us compare the public key encryption scheme with a secret key encryption scheme. So, imagine we are given a public key encryption scheme PyPub and we are given a symmetric key encryption scheme PyPrive. Then if we consider the public key encryption scheme, the key agreement is not at all a challenge, because that is what was the whole motivation for the birth of public key encryption process. If I am a receiver, it suffices for me just to announce my public key in the public domain, and anyone who wants to encrypt a message and send it to me, it can pick my public key and encrypt and send it to me, encrypt the message and send it to me. On the other hand, we had seen that key agreement is the biggest challenge in the symmetric key domain. Until and unless the common key is established between the sender and the receiver, we cannot use any of the symmetric key primitives. If we consider the public key encryption scheme, a downside there is that the message space has to be a finite group or a finite algebraic structure, which in most cases is the group, which is kind of a restriction, because in practice the message space should be a set of bit string. On the other hand, message space in the symmetric key world are binary strings, right. We do not require any sophisticated algebraic structure from the underlying message space for the overall security of my symmetric key encryption schemes. If we consider public key encryption schemes, they are computationally very heavy, because we have to perform modular exponentiations, for instance in RSA function in Elgamal encryption scheme, and performing modular exponentiations is very computationally expensive, heavy, compared to the encryption process, decryption process that we use in symmetric encryption schemes, which are super fast and performs operations which are most of them are of order, which are of XOR operations. The same way in the public key encryption scheme, the ciphertext expansion is huge. For instance, if you see the Elgamal encryption scheme, the plain text is the plain text that you want can encrypt is a single group element, but the ciphertext consists of two groups elements. In padded RSA, the amount of message which you end up encrypting is very short compared to the amount of randomness that you are actually padding. On the other hand, in the symmetric key world, the ciphertext expansion can be as minimal as possible using any of the so called secure modes of operations of block ciphers. So, now you can see we have many pros and cons, we have both pros as well as cons of the public key encryption scheme, symmetric key encryption scheme. So, what we can do is we can think of somehow combining these two processes in a generic fashion and obtain a hybrid kind of encryption process, where in the hybrid encryption process, which we call as inc subhyb, the sender picks a random key for the symmetric key encryption scheme and encrypts it using the public key encryption process. Namely, it encrypts the random key k which it has selected and encrypt it using the public key of the receiver. And once the plain text is available with the sender, the actual encryption of the plain text happens using a symmetric key encryption process using the random key which has been picked by the sender. And now, if we do this, what's happening here is basically the entire efficiency of the hybrid encryption process becomes almost that of the symmetric encryption process, because the actual message which we are encrypting gets encrypted using a symmetric encryption process. The extra payload that we are paying here is to encrypt the symmetric key which is used for encrypting the actual plain text using a public key encryption process, right. However, in principle, syntactically this whole hybrid process will be still considered as an instantiation of public key encryption process, because the key for the symmetric key encryption which the sender is using is getting encrypted by a public key encryption process. So, that is what is the overall motivation for designing hybrid public key ciphers. To make my point more clear, let us consider an instantiation of hybrid Elgamal public key cipher. So, let me recall the syntax of hybrid Elgamal cipher. Say Sita wants to set up her public parameters, her public key and secret key. So, the public description which is available to everyone is the description of the cyclic group, the generator and the size of the group. To do the key setup, what Sita does is, you can imagine that she does her part of the Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol once for all for every potential receiver, every potential RAM, right, or every potential sender who wants to encrypt a message and send to Sita. So, she picks a random alpha from the set ZQ, namely Z0 to Q minus 1, and that is a secret key, and a public key is G to the power alpha, which is available in the public domain, and this we can imagine as Sita's contribution for the overall Diffie-Hellman key, which she want to establish with any potential sender in this world. Now, imagine there is a sender which has a plain text little m which it wants to encrypt, and now this plain text is a bit string, it need not be an element of group. So, unlike the El-Jamal encryption process where the actual plain text which sender could encrypt and send to Sita should be an element of group, now the plain text is a bit string. Now, to encrypt this plain text little m, what the sender does it picks a random element from the group which I denote by m cap, and it encrypts this message m cap using the El-Jamal encryption process. So, it computes the ciphertext C1 comma C2 where C1 can be interpreted as sender's contribution for the Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol, namely G to the power beta, where beta is randomly picked, and C2 is the actual encryption of this random m cap using the common Diffie-Hellman key G to the power alpha beta. Now, that is not the encryption of the message. So, till now what sender has done, basically the C1 comma C2 that sender has sent to the Sita is an encryption of the random m cap, but the goal of the sender is to encrypt the plain text little m. So, what we do here is we assume that apart from the description of the cyclic group, generator, group order and so on, we assume that we have the description of a key derivation function big H publicly available, and assume that the key derivation function maps elements from the group G to the key space of the symmetric key encryption scheme that sender is now going to use. So, now what sender is going to do is, sender knows that by sending C1 comma C2 to the Sita, sender knows that Sita also will end up getting the common key G to the power alpha beta, and assuming that DDH assumption is true in the underlying group, this key G to the power alpha beta is going to be a random element from the group from the viewpoint of a computationally bounded adversary. So, what sender can now do it can derive a bit string, a key for the symmetric key encryption process by applying a key derivation function to this random element m cap, right, and that key is used to now encrypt the plain text little m, which is a bit string, and that is the actual encryption of the plain text m which sender wants to encrypt. So, the decryption at the Sita's end happens as follows. So, for decryption, Sita also needs to recover the same m cap which sender has used to derive the symmetric key little k, and m cap can be obtained by decrypting C1 comma C2 as per the syntax of El-Jamal encryption scheme. And once m cap is recovered by Sita, what Sita can do is she can also apply the same publicly available key derivation function on m cap, and once m cap is recovered, she can decrypt the C component of the ciphertext as per the decryption algorithm of the symmetric key encryption process and recover m. So, that is how you can interpret a hybrid version of El-Jamal public key cipher. So, pictorially what is happening here is that, as I said earlier, C1 comma C2 is the public key encryption of the symmetric key, whereas the C component here is the actual private key encryption of the plain text. However, if you pause here for a moment, right, the above idea of encrypting a random group element by sender and deriving a key from it is an overkill, right. So, what is happening here is sender is using a random group element m cap, encrypting it as a whole using El-Jamal encryption process, and then deriving from that m cap a symmetric key. That is an overkill here. A close observation tells you that it suffices for the sender to just send G to the power beta. It need not have to send this C2. It suffices for the sender to just send G to the power beta, because sender knows that if it sends G to the power beta, which can be viewed as if sender is sending his part of the Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol message, then it knows that by sending G to the power beta, both Sita and Ram will end up agreeing on G to the power alpha beta, and assuming DDH assumption is true in the underlying group, we know that g to the power alpha beta will be random from the viewpoint of the adversary. Hence, the key little k can be derived from g to the power alpha times beta instead of deriving the key from the random element m cap. Because if we do this instead of using the approach that we have seen till now, we do a saving here. We do not have to pick the random element m cap, and we do not need to encrypt m cap, hence we do not need to send C2, and overall size of the ciphertext will get significantly reduced, and that will also lead to the saving in the bandwidth as well, because if we do not need to send C2, that means we do not need to send an extra group element to encrypt the message, right. So, even though we have seen an instantiation of hybrid El-Jamal cipher here, it turns out that this approach is an overkill. So, what we are going to now do is we are now motivated by the discussion here that it suffice for the sender here to just send g to the power beta and derive a key from that g to the power beta. What we are going to do is we are now going to derive a new primitive which we call as key encapsulation mechanism or KEM, and then we will see that how we can get more efficient hybrid encryption using this KEM, right. So, to make my point clear, the naive way of hybrid encryption that we have seen now is just now in the context of hybrid El-Jamal is as follows. So, at the encryption end what we were doing is the sender was picking a random key for the symmetric key, and it was getting encrypted by the public key of the receiver to derive the ciphertext C, which can be considered as an encryption of the symmetric key, and the actual encryption of the message was done using the key k. And this was kind of a two stage approach, where we were first choosing a random symmetric key and then using it for the public key encryption process. A more efficient approach will be done using a primitive which we are going to define soon, which we call as key encapsulation mechanism, where both these two things are done in a single shot, in a single stage. And the advantage here is that not only it is conceptually simpler, but in many cases it is more efficient. And to understand that how exactly KEM is going to be efficient compared to this two stage approach, you can see what we have seen just now in the context of hybrid El-Jamal. In the naive way of implementing hybrid El-Jamal, the sender was picking a random m cap, deriving the key, and the m cap was whole encrypted using the El-Jamal encryption process. But later we argued that the sender need not have to do that, it can carry out hybrid encryption even by just sending g to the power beta to the receiver. So, this key encapsulation mechanism or KEM is over a key space is a collection of 3 algorithms. It will have a key generation algorithm which will output a public key and secret key, and it will have an encapsulation algorithm which takes no plain text as input. It has no external input. It has an external input, namely the public key pk, but apart from that it does not take any plain text, and it has an internal randomness, and it gives you 2 outputs. It outputs a key from the key space, and it outputs an encapsulation of the key which we call as C. The decapsulation algorithms takes an encapsulated key which I denote as C and the secret key as K, and it decapsulates the key which is hidden there or encapsulated in the C part C, and it gives you back the encapsulated key as the output, namely key K. So, I stress here that the encapsulation algorithm and the decapsulation algorithm have completely different goals and properties compared to encryption and decryption algorithm of a public key encryption process. As you can see here, the encapsulation algorithm does not take any plain text. Even without taking any plain text, just based on internal randomness, it gives you an output, a key K, and an encapsulation of that key K, which I denote as C, but that C should not be taken as an encryption of K. And the same way, the decapsulation, it does not take a ciphertext for decryption. It takes a C which it has to decapsulate and take out the key K which is hidden there in the C, right. So, it turns out that a naive way of coming up with a KEM is to just take any public key encryption scheme, and the encapsulation algorithm can be as follows. Internally we generate a random group element and encrypt it as per the public key encryption process. That can be the encapsulation process, and in the same way the analogous decapsulation process can be we decrypt the group element that we have just encrypted using the public key encryption process. But it turns out that we can have more efficient instantiations of encapsulation and decapsulation. Now, assume for the moment we have such an encapsulation and decapsulation mechanism, then instead of doing the naive way of hybrid encryption, we can do an hybrid encryption as follows. The sender can run the encapsulation algorithm using the description of the public key, and it will obtain the encapsulation of the key and the key k, and the key k is used to encrypt the plain text using the symmetric key encryption process to obtain the ciphertext C dash, and the overall ciphertext will be the encryption C dash of the plain text along with the encapsulation of the key k, which is used to encrypt the plain text, but the key k will not be a part of the ciphertext. So, the symmetric key encryption scheme which we are now using in this modified way of doing hybrid encryption is called as a data encapsulation mechanism or DEM. So, now you can see we have two kind of encapsulation happening. One encapsulation is for encapsulating the key, and that will be denoted by C, and we will have the encapsulation of the actual data which we will denoted as C dash. So, now let us define the COA and CPA security of key encapsulation mechanism. So, imagine we have given a key encapsulation mechanism, and when I say that it achieves COA security, which actually means CPA security in the public key domain, then we require the following should be ensured. Imagine there is a receiver who has run the key generation algorithm of the encaps scheme, and it has made the public key available, and say there is a sender which picks the public key, runs the encapsulation algorithm under that public key and obtains output C comma k, and the encapsulation of the key C is sent to the receiver. And say there is an eavesdropper who has eavesdrops the encapsulation of the key, then basically we require that even after knowing the description of the encapsulation process, decapsulation process, and by eavesdropping the C, the eavesdropper who is computationally bounded, from its viewpoint the encapsulation C should be independent of the actual key which is encapsulated in C. And this is modeled by a COA experiment played between a computationally bounded adversary and a challenger, and the challenger does the following: it runs the key generation algorithm, obtains pk comma sk, and runs the encapsulation algorithm and obtains the output C comma k. And now it prepares the challenge as follows: it tosses a fair coin. If the coin toss is 0, then it picks k cap randomly from the key space of the key encapsulation mechanism. On the other hand, if the coin toss is 1, then key cap is said to be the same k which is encapsulated in C. And now the challenge for the adversary is as follows: the adversary is given the public key, the encapsulated key, the encapsulation C, and k cap. And the challenge for the adversary is to identify whether k cap is related to C or not, whether k cap is the same key which is encapsulated in C, namely b equal to 1, or whether k cap is a totally independent element independent of the key which is encapsulated in C, namely b equal to 0. And this exactly models a requirement which we wanted to capture or ensured by a secure key encapsulation mechanism. So, the adversary outputs a b, whether namely it tells whether it is b little b equal to whether k cap is generated as per the method b equal to 0 or whether b equal to 1. And definition and rules of the game here is that we say that adversary has won the game, meaning that the output of the experiment is 1 if and only if b dash equal to b. And we say that our key encapsulation mechanism is COA secure if for every polytime adversary there exists a negligible function such that the probability of adversary winning the game is upper bounded by half plus negligible probability, or equivalently saying that the distinguishing advantage of the adversary is negligible, namely it does not matter whether k cap is generated as per method little b equal to 0 or as per method little b equal to 1, the output of the adversary should be almost the same except with negligible probability in both the cases. Now, the reason I am calling it COA security as well as CPA security, because since we are in the public key world and public key is explicitly given to the adversary need not have to get any encapsulation oracle service from the challenger. It can run the encapsulation algorithm using the public key pk on its own on any randomness and generate any kind of C comma k. Our goal here is to ensure that even if it has got encapsulation oracle service explicitly, still it should not be able to figure out whether k cap is related to C or not. Now, what we are going to discuss here is a very interesting result. We are going to show is that if you are given a key encapsulation mechanism which is COA secure, then combining it with any symmetric key cipher which is CO secure, you can obtain a CPA secure hybrid encryption process. So, imagine you are given a key encapsulation mechanism and you are given a symmetric key encryption process, and say we combine these two primitives to obtain a hybrid encryption process as follows. So, the key generation algorithm of the hybrid process basically runs the key generation of algorithm of the KEM and outputs the public key and secret key. The encryption algorithm of the hybrid process takes the plain text little m and the public key pk, and internally it does the following: it runs the encapsulation algorithm, obtains k comma c, and using the key it runs the symmetric key encryption algorithm on the plain text m and obtains the ciphertext c dash, and the overall ciphertext is the encapsulation of the key and the encapsulation of the data, namely c comma c dash, and the decryption happens in the hybrid process analogously, namely if you have the secret key sk and the ciphertext c comma c dash, then you first decapsulate the encapsulation of the key and obtain the encapsulated key little k, and then using the little key k you decapsulate the c dash component of the ciphertext by running the decryption algorithm of your symmetric key encryption process and output the m as the plain text. What we are going to now formally prove is that if your KEM is COA secure and if your symmetric key encryption process is COA secure, then this overall way of combining and obtaining a hybrid encryption process is going to give you a public key CPA secure hybrid encryption process. And this is quite surprising because what we are trying to prove here is that COA security in the symmetric key world, when combined with a COA secure KEM, gives you a CPA security in the public key domain. And this is surprising because in the symmetric key world we have seen that COA security and CPA security are not equivalent. And the reason, the intuition behind this theorem is as follows: if you see the encryption process of this hybrid encryption scheme, every time I want to encrypt the same message little m using the public key pk, I am going to use a different encapsulated key, because my encapsulation algorithm is going to be COA secure or CPA secure. It will not produce the same key again and again and again. And since my encapsulated key is going to be different, that means the private key encryption which I am using inside this hybrid encryption process is using a fresh key for each instance of the encryption process. So, that is all, that is what is the overall intuition behind the proof of this theorem. That means to instantiate this framework, to instantiate the symmetric key part of the encryption and the decryption, we can just use any stream cipher. So, now let us try to prove this theorem, and before going into the proof of this theorem, let us first see how exactly an instantiation of the CPA game against this hybrid encryption process will look like. So, imagine we have an adversary A who is polynomially bounded. Then in the CPA game, or in the COA game to be more specific, remember in the public key world COA and CPA security are same. So, the rules of the game will be as follows: the challenger will run the key generation algorithm, namely the key generation algorithm of the encapsulation mechanism, obtain the public key pair pk, obtain the key pair pk comma sk. The public key pk will be given to the adversary, which basically gives the adversary encapsulation oracle service on any input of its choice. Adversary submits a pair of challenge plain text M0 M1. One of them is randomly encrypted, decided for encryption. To encrypt the challenge plain text, the challenger runs the encapsulation algorithm under the public key, obtain the encapsulated key little k and the encapsulated ciphertext encapsulation of the key little c, and then using the encapsulated key it runs the symmetric key encryption algorithm to encrypt the challenge plain text MB and obtain the ciphertext C dash. And now the challenge ciphertext for the adversary is the encapsulation of the key and the actual encryption of the message MB. And the challenge for the adversary is to identify whether it is seeing C star, which is an encryption of M0 or M1, and it will submit its output. And our goal is to show the following: our goal is to show that for any polytime adversary participating in this experiment, the distinguishing advantage of the experiment is upper bounded by some negligible function. and we are going to prove that using hybrid argument. The reason we are going to use hybrid argument is that we are now having two primitives which are involved here. We are using chem as well as a symmetric key encryption process, and hence we cannot directly reduce the overall security of the hybrid encryption process to the security of any of these underlying primitives. So, remember, our goal is to prove this claim, namely the distinguishing advantage of the attacker is upper bounded by some negligible function. So, now to prove this claim, what I do here is I consider two versions of this indistinguishability game, the CPA indistinguishability game, depending upon whether the challenger has used message M0 for encryption or whether the challenger has used message M1 for encryption. So, we can imagine that the COA game against the hybrid encryption process can be viewed as a combination of two experiments which I denote as H sub 0, H sub 1, and each of these experiments can occur with probability 1 by 2. In the experiment H sub 0, it is basically a version of the COA game where the challenger has picked up the message M0 for encryption, and the experiment H1 is the instantiation of the COA game where the challenger has picked the message M1 for encryption. And since our goal is to show that our goal is to prove this claim, namely the distinguishing advantage of the attacker is negligible, our goal is to show that from the viewpoint of the attacker, H0 and H1, these two experiments are computationally indistinguishable. That means, with almost equal probability, adversary is going to output 0, adversary is going to output 0 in experiment H0 as well as in the experiment H1. Now, to prove that, what we are going to do is we are going to introduce two hybrid experiments here, which I denote as H dash sub 0 and H dash sub 1, and H dash sub 0 is almost the same as the experiment H sub 0. The only difference here is that the message M0 is now encrypted using a completely random key from the key space of the symmetric key encryption process, instead of using the key little k which was encapsulated in the encapsulation C in the experiment H0. And in the same way, if I consider the experiment H dash sub 1, it is different from experiment H sub 1 in the sense that here a totally independent random key is used for encrypting the message M1 compared to the experiment H1 where the key little k which was used to encrypt the message M1 was encapsulated in the encapsulation C. So, these are the differences in the experiment H dash sub 0 and H dash sub 1. Now, my claim is that the experiment H0 and experiment H dash sub 0, they are computationally indistinguishable from the viewpoint of any computationally bounded adversary. Namely, I claim here that if I take the absolute difference between the probability of the adversary A outputting 0 in the experiment H0 and outputting 0 in the experiment H dash 0, it is upper bounded by negligible probability, and this is because of the COA security of the underlying key encapsulation mechanism. Namely, I can formally prove that if my underlying key encapsulation mechanism is COA secure, then it does not matter whether my challenger uses a totally independent key from the symmetric key from the key space of the symmetric key encryption scheme for encrypting the message, or whether it is using a key which is generated by running a key encapsulation chem. From the viewpoint of the adversary, the C dash could be an encryption produced by both kind of keys. It cannot distinguish apart whether it is seeing C dash of type H0 or whether it is seeing C dash of type H dash sub 0. Right. We can formally prove that by reducing the security to the COA security of the underlying chem. I am not going into the exact proof of that, I leave those details for you as an assignment. Now, if I consider the experiment H dash sub 0 and H dash sub 1, I can say that they are computationally indistinguishable from the viewpoint of any polytime adversary, and this follows from the COA security of the underlying symmetric key cipher. Namely, if my underlying symmetric key cipher is COA secure, then it does not matter whether the adversary is seeing an encryption of M0 or whether the adversary is seeing an encryption of M1, it cannot distinguish apart. The rest of the information that the adversary is seeing, namely PK, C comma C dash and so on, their distribution are exactly the same in the experiment h dash sub 0 and h dash sub 1. So, basically I can say that this experiment h 0 dash and h 1 dash, they are basically the two versions of the indistinguishability game of the underlying CO, they are the two versions of the COA indistinguishability game for the underlying symmetric key cipher. And if my underlying COA symmetric key cipher, underlying symmetric key cipher is COA secure, then I know that from the viewpoint of this computationally bounded adversary A, the experiment h 0 dash and h 1 dash are same. And finally, using the same argument which I used to show the computational indistinguishability of h 0 and h 0 dash, I can say that the experiment h 1 and h 1 dash, they are computationally indistinguishable, because from the it follows from the COA security of the underlying game. Now, by using the triangle inequality, I can end up showing that if I sum these three inequalities, I end up showing that the if I take the difference of the adversary's advantage or adversary's probability of outputting 0 in h 0 and h 1, then that is upper bounded by the summation of three negligible probabilities, and we know that by the closure properties of negligible function, summation of any three negligible function in the security parameter is also a negligible function, which ends up showing that the experiments h 0 and h 1, they are computationally indistinguishable, which proves that we now have a generic construction of CPA secure asymmetric key cipher. So, now let us see an instantiation of KEM based on Diffie-Hellman problems. So, the public setup here is the description of a generator of a cyclic group order and so on, and apart from that we have the description of a key derivation function mapping the group elements to the key space of the underlying symmetric encryption process. To do the key setup, basically receiver runs her part of the Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol. So, she picks a random alpha as a secret key and the public key is g to the power alpha. And now to do the key encapsulation, basically any sender has to do the following: it will run his part of the Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol, namely compute a random beta and compute g to the pick a random beta and compute g to the power beta, and now map the element g to the power alpha beta to an element of the key space of the symmetric key encryption scheme by running the key derivation function. So, that will be the encapsulation of the key. The decapsulation happens as follows: what the receiver does is it runs her part of the Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol to compute the agreed upon key, namely g to the power alpha beta, and apply the key derivation function on that derived key derived group element to obtain back the key which was encapsulated in C, right. So, this is basically the same thing which we have discussed during the instantiation of our hybrid Elgamal encryption process. Now, it turns out that the security of this scheme depends upon the underlying properties of the key derivation function and the appropriate DH problem. If we are in the random oracle model, namely if we assume that this function key derivation function is modeled as a random oracle, and if we assume that the CDH problem is difficult to solve, then we can prove that this scheme is CPA secure, and the intuition for that is if the adversary has not queried for the value of the random oracle on the input g to the power alpha beta, then the resultant output little k is random from the viewpoint of the adversary, because that is what is the property of random oracle. Now, what is the chance that adversary would have queried for g to the power alpha beta, given that it knows only the public key g to the power alpha and the encapsulation of the key, namely g to the power beta? Well, that is precisely the probability with which it can solve an instance of the CDH problem, and that is why if we assume that the CDH problem is difficult to solve, this construction is secure in the random oracle model. On the other hand, if you want to make a stronger assumption, namely if you are assuming that the DDH problem is difficult to solve in your group, then we do not require this key derivation function to be modeled as a random oracle. We can just model this as a special type of function. This is because the DDH assumption says that even if there is a polytime adversary which has seen the public key g to the power alpha and the encapsulation g to the power beta, the resultant g to the power alpha beta could be any random element from its view, from the viewpoint of that computationally bounded adversary. Now, it suffices for the underlying key derivation function to be a special type of function, which distribute the group elements almost evenly among the elements of the key space of the symmetric key encryption process. What I mean by that is, with equal, if I consider, if this is my group G and if this is my set fancy K, then the number of elements which map to a candidate element from this key space, the number of group elements which map to this one candidate element from the key space should be almost the same. There should not be any bias in the distribution or in the mapping with by which this function big H is mapping the elements of the group to the elements of the key space of my symmetric key encryption process. If I assume that my underlying key derivation function has that kind of smoothing effect, then it suffice for me to just remain in the standard model and claim the security of this key encapsulation mechanism just based on the DDH assumption. So, now you can see the importance of the assumptions that we are making throughout this course, right. The same construction here can be proved secure in with weaker assumptions, with weaker hardness assumption, namely CDH assumption, but in a more with a more powerful properties from the underlying hash function, namely assuming it is acting as a random oracle. Whereas, if you do not want to model your underlying hash function as a random oracle, you want to model it as a special type of smooth distributing function, then you need to have a more powerful hardness assumption in your underlying group, namely you need to have the underlying you need to have the DDH problem difficult to be solved in your underlying group. So, that brings me to the end of this lecture. Just to summarize, in this lecture we have introduced hybrid encryption process and we have discussed the CPA security of hybrid encryption process. We also saw a generic construction of how to combine CPA secure or COA secure key encapsulation mechanism along with any COA secure symmetric key encryption process and get an overall CPA secure hybrid encryption process. Thank you.